right side.
No way. I was close.
I knew it was gonna go there after seeing that.
I would place my marker at the orchard.
Probably where you just shot it, like on that Spire Mountain, like right in between Steamy and that mountain. Yeah.
You see the farm, the north farm, put it right next to it. Yeah, right there.
So I put my marker in between Steamy and Craggy. I think this zone's probably gonna pull north.
I think I'm gonna put my marker at the building on the north side. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Alright.
At least I got 1 point though.
Oh my. Are you serious?
I don't think I'm in it.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just out of it again.
Put my marker at the dock of Believer Beach. Yeah, about there. Yeah, that's fine.
In between like Believer, Pleasant, and Coral, like on the mountain in the water, kinda. Yeah, probably like right there.
Put my pin right south of Believer Beach. Yep, perfect. Yep.
Right in the middle of Believer.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go by the island to the right of Coral Castle.
Nice.
Unlucky, man.
Oh my gosh.
I have hope. I still have hope. I still have hope.
Let's go. I knew it was going here. I could just tell.
Oh.
Alright. Well, maybe this game just isn't for me then.
Now all we need is the last one and we should be good here. Just outside of the circle. Just a little bit unlucky.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? After that short break in EU, we are back. Once again, congratulations, Hen, Tayson, and Chapix picking up that title of Grand Royale Trios champions, and now we're back here in NA East. Yesterday's performance left Chucky and his trio on top, but the question is, with double points today, can they hold that lead? Will someone else step up to the plate and say, not today, friends? We want that championship title. Well, that's what we're here to find out, of course. I got Vivid, I got Adam here with me. You know I always got the boys not too far away. Look at them. Look how great these guys look. Did you guys color coordinate?
You know,
we did, yeah.
Me and Adam are always behind the scenes. We're conjuring up something mischievous, and always got to keep the color coordination going. We always got some animal prints ready. I know that I got some flamingos. Adam's got tigers of sorts, so we're always ready to bring our best.
Yeah, we're on point. You know what, guys? Today it's a freezing day here in the UK. Okay, but two things that are warming my heart. Number one, Vivid smile, obviously.
Oh.
Number two, of all the times in the world for my young baby boy to learn to crawl, he chose Grand Royale. Day number 2 it happened today. He was like, double points, Daddy? I'm going to crawl. And he did. And here we are, living the dream. Loving it, loving it. That's absolutely fantastic. There you go. Let's take a look at our overall format on the day. So we've kind of touched on it, and we talked a lot about it yesterday. We're going to hear more about it today. It's double points. We've already seen this greatly affect EU, especially when, literally just a 10 elimination victory royale is 100 points. That's an automatic jump of several positions on the standings as well. It is ridiculous, and I'm very excited to see it happen here, Vivid.
Yeah, the double point format coming into full effect on day number 2. As you mentioned, over in EU, it made for a very, very exciting end. Came down to those last 2 games even. So very, very excited to see how it pans out in NA East. Hopefully we can match up to the hype that EU brought. But you've really got to stay consistent, right? We know that we talked a little bit about Chucky, Islam, and TK being at the top of the leaderboard right now. But if they start to slip, if they don't perform as well as they did yesterday, these other teams are getting double the amount of points that they were yesterday. So you really got to keep that consistency going. You got to bring what you brought in day 1 into day 2 and make sure that you are at the top of your game.
100%. I think what's really important is only 2 teams yesterday, if my data and math serves me correctly here, actually managed to get double point eliminations, over 10 plus eliminations in a game. So if that happens today with double points, that is going to make a massive difference to the end of the day. And we saw it in the EU already. Every game, so many points up for grabs here. So 6 games. It's going to be very exciting to see exactly who tops the leaderboard at the end. I mean, look at this, $285,000 in NA East. But again, and this is always going to be something I echo, look at top 10th, right? That's $19,000, right? So if your trio could go from like 33rd all the way up to 10th, right? That is life-changing amount of money. Of course, everyone is aiming for that top spot. We always want to celebrate everyone that can make it in that top 10, right? Getting up high, walking away with as much prize money as possible. That is the goal here for a trio. You'll love to see it. Now, we do have to kind of turn our attention to the leaderboard. Boom, there you go. Right on cue, Lem, TK, and Ackerman, a.k.a. Chucky. Chucky, I hope you change your name today, brother, so we can celebrate you as an individual and be there with you as you potentially walk away the winner, because you're sitting real high up there, 217 points. But once again, Vivid, the double points could really shake up this leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, the highlight of this leaderboard to me, and I talked a little bit about it yesterday, was 49 eliminations over 6 games for Zlem, TK, and Chucky there. That's just a phenomenal number. If we double that up, we almost have 100 elims, right? And over in EU, the most elims that we saw after the 2 days was actually 70. So if Zlem, TK, and Chucky, live up to how they played yesterday, we could see a whole lot of elims coming out of this trio. But, big talking points here, though. We got previous FNCS champions and Slacks, Acorn, and Jack there right in second place, trailing behind by about 60 points. But again, that day 2 format could really help them out in catching up. And then Dukes, Miro, and Booga. Obviously, Dukes coming in to join Miro and Booga, who are hot off of an FNCS win themselves.
Yeah, and looking at the leaderboard, top 10 there is looking striking. You can see him in 6th position as well. Osp, Visuals, and Frist we saw yesterday as well, dominating the high ground. Could it happen again today? Interesting that Vivid brought up Acorn, Jack, and Slacks there as well. You can see they actually had no victory royales yesterday, but still managed to get 111 placement points without those. The likes of D-Roller, Spegu, and Charlie there in 8th position there, who got 2 but are still not in that top 5. Just goes to show that they had consistent placement throughout the course of the day, and with double point setting as well. Obviously, every victory royale is 60 points, but you still finish in the top 10, you're going to get big numbers very, very quickly and start to ascend the ranks towards the top spots there. So it's all to play for. It's very exciting stuff, and we are all here buzzing to jump right in. Of course, we got to focus in on this top 4, right? Just kicking things off, Lem, TK, and Chucky, a.k.a. Ackerman. We got to talk about their drop spot, how they're faring here. I mean, look at this. Once again, 216 points. Similar setup, right? But the difference here is that average placement of 6.83. So these guys are doing very, very well. But, we like to talk about this a lot. Sometimes we see trios, they come in day number 1, strong, right? But then they cannot follow that up on day number 2. My question, Vivid, can they do that?
And we talked a little bit about it yesterday, too. It's all about the homework, right? We talked about how people had to do their homework, use the FNCS that we just had as, guidance to how they can play today. You got to remember, in these 2-day competition formats, when you go from day 1 into day 2, people can look at, how your first 6 games went. They can kind of, review what you were doing. They might literally create a strategy around things that you were doing. You have time as a trio to sit down, talk for a couple hours, be like, okay, what did we do wrong? And go through their own replay. So trios will literally adjust from day 1 to day 2. So you yourself also have to be ready to adjust.
Yeah, you do. I think another big factor as well is wind in your sails and confidence as well. And the last game of the day yesterday, these guys coming in with a victory royale and 16 eliminations. They're going to be feeling very good going into day number 2 here, particularly when there's so many points up for grabs as well. So we'll get to see in the first game or 2 exactly how things stand, whether or not it has had effect, or whether or not they're going to have that confidence riding through from day 1 into day 2 as well.
Let's keep it going, boys. Slacks, Acorn, Jock, here you go. 7.50 here on the average placement. So once again, the first 3 stats we've already seen on that leaderboard. I mean, guys, this is kind of another subject we talked about back in Chapter 2, Season 8, which was basically a month ago. It feels like it was yesterday, but trios kind of sticking together, right? These guys have been together all season long, all year long, I'm pretty sure. And now they're looking to kind of show up here in Grand Royale and say, look, how much prize money's on the line for first place? All right, yeah, I'm down. Let's stay together. Let's just aim for top spot. Why not?
Yeah, I know this is going to come off a little harsh, right? But no surprise that these guys haven't actually gotten a victory out. They love the mid ground, and they play it so well. But usually it doesn't do that good of a job to net them victory royales. But, as Adam attested, they actually have, the second most placement points, on that leaderboard without a victory royale. So even more so impressive that they have been up all the way up on that leaderboard without a victory royale. And I think their worst game yesterday was a 14th place, so a little bit unfortunate there, but still, when you think about it, think about the level of competition that we're playing at. A 14th place being your worst placement over 6 games is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it really is. And, looking at their placements as well, though, 4 games, they were in the top 7 in 4 of those games, which is really, really impressive. That's why the placement points come into effect there. But also, we talked about this, Acorn, Jack, and Slacks as well, uncontested now in Sludgy, which has given them the open door, open free reign to get around the map and really and make their play to get into that end zone, get into those final kind of storm circles and make a play. Obviously, at FNCS, that didn't happen, but now uncontested, it is magic, and they're feeling good.
That's right. Look at that. 3rd place Dukes, Miro, and Booga. So we just watched Miro, Booga, and Muzz actually pick up the Chapter 2 Season 8 title, but they've decided to drop Muzz and then pick up Dukes. Now, Vivid, you're very familiar with Dukes users and Justice as a true when they were together, but now bringing this on alongside Miro and Booga, what could we expect coming into today?
Basically, we saw a little bit of snippets of gameplay of this trio yesterday, right? We were watching them pretty heavily. They do land down there at Misty Meadows. They are claiming much of that POI to themselves, but then they're also landing at that crater over there. So they have a plethora of loot. Basically, the way that this trio was working yesterday was, one, there was a lot of clutches happening, right? Not every single game, in fact, like almost none of them, all 3 of them were alive, and like none of them, as I mentioned. And, there's that clutch factor of every single one of these players. Second thing about this trio, Booga is usually the one leading the TARP, right? He's got the experience. He's been playing the game for a very, very long time. He's a well-titled player, so he knows how to TARP the team, how to layer them, and everything like that. And then Miro, obviously, like one of the best fraggers that we've seen in the game. When we look back at Reverse Day and Miro, they racked up so many eliminations as a duo there. And I think that Duke can kind of match that energy that Day had with Miro. And, hopefully this trio goes ahead and just runs through the competition. If they can find some games where they're actually alive as a trio, I can only imagine what they can do in the end game.
One word and one word only for me: goated. These guys, they got it all.
There you go. Super fast. Really quickly, let's touch on Cease, Cold, and Elite. They're currently sitting in 4th coming into today's competition. Very different, though, right? 13.17 in the average placement, but they have a lot of eliminations, right? So this team seems to be favoring more the elimination side of the balance between placement.
Yeah, and one of the cool things that I actually saw on Twitter yesterday was one of the strategies that these guys were using since they land up by Coral Castle is they grabbed one of those shadow rocks and then used it alongside the slipstream and basically just like launched themselves into the sky where they're invisible up there, and then they just land on a higher ground team that has their top part of their builds open, and they just land in there and it's like free elim. So pretty cool strategy.
Yeah, and they were the other team I was mentioning as well, who had one of the only teams have 2 games with double-digit eliminations as well. So, as Zeke mentioned there as well, when you get eliminations, those points are going to make such a huge difference today as well. So they'll be a real good team to watch and see them kind of get whether or not they're going to kind of follow through today in day number 2.
Dude, I cannot wait. 40 seconds before we go. Really quickly, let's take a look at the predictions. Which trios we think could walk away winners. Vivid and I, Commandment, Scented, and Stretched. We are aligned, and I love this, Vivid. Adam has gone with Saf, Agers, and Kanata. Reese Hub, Day, Jamper, and Tragics. And that means that Monster D-Face is now rounding us out. He's got Booga, Miro, and Dukes. Right now, he's the only one of us that's doing real good right now. And you know what, Monster? That's fair. You're incredibly good at your job. You've been around the scene for pretty much as long as I have been, so got to put some respect on that, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. 4-9 fam, we're jumping on that battle bus. We have 6 matches today. Don't forget double points. So as a team falls, they've got to watch everyone else around them pull further ahead or catch up. It is time. We're going over. We got Reese Hub, who just came over from EU, and Monster D-Face. Friends, say hello.
Thank you so very much, Zeke, and here we have it. It's the day 2 for the Grand Royale now. The finals is here and upon us. Soon we'll see another team walk away with the big prizing. The timeline's in, I'd say, a good vibe mode right now. EU was phenomenal. It was incredible. The competition was close. I can only hope that we get something here the same.
Honestly, my vibes are impeccable after just being part of the EU finish there. I'm going to carry those over, continue, and I hope that NA East gives us a second day similar to what EU had. The top teams after day 1 still reigning supreme, showing why they were the best on the region, and all going down to the final game. I'm fingers crossed, and I'm sure it's going to happen here on NA East as well.
Yeah, we're a little spoiled last season. We had somewhat of a nail biter of a run at the very end. It's going to be hard to live up to, but hey, knowing what we know, Fortnite, I mean, anything can happen. Teams like Zlem, Ackerman, TK now. I mean, all pressure is on Team Zlem here to stay consistent, not fall behind. Yesterday, every time we watch these teams succeed, all we can just continue to think about in the back of our minds was, can you do this again tomorrow? Because you cannot afford to drop a single game now.
Yeah, what I'm actually interested about them is that they were really able to take advantage of the teams that were really surrounding them, like Blake, Vert, and Scoped, and Dom, Ganzo, Chimp. We saw, obviously, the timeline, we've already talked about it once, was lighting up yesterday and all through the coming weeks to hype up that fight. Ganzo's team ended up being, realistically, the bottom of the leaderboard coming out of it. So I want to see if they've changed up their drop spot. Looking at the map in the bottom right, it doesn't seem like they have at all. So for TK's Lem and Ackerman, aka Chucky, you know what? I think I may commit to calling him Chucky today just because they put on such a performance yesterday, and I know that he won't change his username because I asked him and he's not doing it. So I'm going to commit to call him Chucky. I feel like he deserves to be called it for now.
I'm not going to do it.
You're not going to do it?
If I do it, that's just like my inner intuition pushing it out.
Yeah.
My instincts. But otherwise, we'll see how it goes. Jack, Slacks, and Acorn on the other side. Sludgy Swamp is theirs. This drop spot's gone through so much change, but they never gave up on it, right? Through the highs and the lows. They're still here, and they are still finding success. Last season, disappointing for them, right?
Very.
This season, they're back in the run of things.
I mean, like, do you remember earlier on in the year where people were talking about the run that they were having in tournaments and the fact that they ended up winning that FNCS, and I think it was season 6 was unbelievable, following like the Cash Cup wins, the third party wins, just the performance they had overall, and having 2/5 in other FNCSs. Like, the performances that these guys have put on in terms of consistency has been unbelievable this year, and I think it's slightly been overshadowed by the fact that Slacks, Acre, and Jack just didn't make it to finals last season.
Yeah, literally. That's the one thing that kind of holds them back at this point is, you lose all that momentum regardless of how great they played, right? Because then the spotlight just shifted. It was back on Miro, Day, Reverse 2K, seeing what they can do. And then, of course, the timeline moved on. For Bugga, Miro, and Dukes now, though, they have found a ton of success. And then our sleeper trio over at Coral Castle, which is Cease, Cold, and Elite. I mean, we saw them be fully contested, like full-blown contested last season, have a world of issues with this draw spot, and it seems like through their performance and being able to position themselves, what was it, a top 5 in the last FNCS? Now they have this entire place to themselves, and they're back at it. They're back at it being consistent here.
I was slightly concerned for them on day 2. It's good to see them being uncontested here because I was wondering if Bryson, Cam, and Plague were going to start moving in because realistically for them, like, they're the team that was contesting them in this season as FNCS, and they're not doing so hot, right? They're not looking so good in the leaderboards. They're 26 so far, so I thought maybe they were going to go to the drop spot of Coral Castle that has been more successful for them this season, but it seems like they're potentially sticking out to wherever they were right now in this. They're not switching it back up, but if we do see them move over in future games, it could be pretty rough. Obviously, for Cold, Elite, and Cease here, if they end up having to fight off spawn, unfortunately. We're seeing absolutely 0 off spawn fights. If you're watching, just be action. Look at the player count in your top left. 94 out of 96. Only 2 players have gone down so far in the feed. Almost no one. No one's fighting. Everyone's being so cautious right now.
Yeah, and this is an awesome stat. Just showcasing how Skittles, Justice, and users managed to truly claw their way back into the competition, picking up 87 points in 3 games of day 1. Like, that is an incredible amount of points, and we've seen that before, right? We've seen teams that just tend to turn online in the back half, but more importantly, it just goes to show how mentally strong these players are and how much they're willing to fight for it.
You know what's interesting is that in day 2, a 10 elimination victory royale is worth 100 points. So despite they had this huge clutch in day number 1 at the end, getting 87 and 3, if a team wins with 10 elims, like, they're already doing more points than that so far, right? So this is a huge switch up. These games are going to be so impactful for the overall leaderboards. And like I said, we saw that on EU. We've seen it on other regions as well. And all of these engagements, all these fights are critical. Right now with Zlem, right now trying to also get into the fights. You can see the quick stat popping up from them. Teammates Chucky, TK, and Zlem finished 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in individual elims on day 1 respectively. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. They're leading the charge right now, and I mean, it's truly showing in the points. Vivid did an awesome job just kind of reflecting the points in the elims, or the total amount of elims they had to the total amount of elims that EU had coming out at the top, being the cap end of 70, and they were already at 59, so they're well on their track to go ahead and break that and possibly be the elimination leaders for the FNCS between the two regions.
You know what though? Miro's crying right now. Miro in absolute tears right now after being the leader for season on season on season. We keep putting these stats up. Yeah, it might be overall for the year, definitely, but you can't get it in every FNCS. You can't be the leader for every single one.
I was gonna say, yeah, like, you know, I'm sure his inner want to be the winner of everything, right? His competitive spirit is definitely turning and rolling right now. But hey, here is Miro, here's Dukes, here's Booga. You talk about them needing a little bit more if he wants to pick up elims. I mean, this gray pump is just not going to do it. Do wonder if, you know, how they're feeling, right? Starting the game off and not quite being where you want to be.
Yeah, for them, Duke's getting beamed up a lot. They had a lot of, you know, we talked about it yesterday, right? A lot of, I want to say interesting plays that they made. Is maybe not the right way to word it, where clearly a lot of their success was coming from the fact that they are all-star players. They're so good individually, and the teamwork, the dynamic wasn't there from some of the other top teams that we've seen. The actual gameplay, the styles, actually very similar, interesting enough, to the way that Tayson Hen and Chapix were playing on EU, where they're often playing as solos, but they were just so good, they were able to get a ton of points off. That's what we saw yesterday. I want to see if they figured that out today, because I know in the previous season, in the Season 8, when they were playing with Muzz, that day between the two, like obviously the night between the 2 days, they were VOD reviewing. They were looking at the games. They were figuring out their mistakes. And I hope they did something similar to that today, so they're coming back even stronger.
Look at this Storm strategy here. Sit out and bait in the shots, bait out the edits, then go for that perfectly fired first shot accuracy and return. Acorn, Jack, and Slacks trying to set themselves up to get the action that they need. It looks like they are going to find a few tags there. That's out to Mega and Dubs as well, by the way, who have survived the drop and rotated a little early. So the zone seemingly favoring the southern area, and teams trying to come down and position up here already.
Yeah, I did see Rokane also still in this too, so not everyone out from that engagement that we saw repeatedly happen yesterday. It's Frisp, Ost, and Visuals now. A team that we put a lot of hope on it the earlier half of yesterday, right? They obviously picked up the victory in game number 3, and they were third in game number 2, but really started to fumble towards the second half and kind of moved down to 6th when they were contesting a position for first place. I want to see them bring that back, because also they ended up placing 3rd this season's FNCS, so clearly a top team playing really well right now. They have the potential to do well, but I just want to see it.
Not to mention, they had multiple games that a Victor Royale was in the cards for them. Yes, they managed to convert one, but it was that second game that they really also had the Victor Royale, and things just didn't go in their favor. So just showing how quickly things can change and what the difference of that win could have been. Like, they would have been that other top 3 team potentially here that we'd be championing on, but instead it's Dukes, Miros, and Booga who are currently leading that story right now. This is just the first kind of iteration of the zone, though. Things are going to start closing soon, and with how many players are up right now, I mean, we know what happens. The lobby's going to get really active here soon, and I mean, it's going to spell disaster for trios like this that are basing up next to other trios, right? That's one of the biggest risks you can take. Here's a quick highlight.
Highlight
go
of
back.
Great loot, I must say. Look at what they have. Pamstu managing to get the gold pump, the full heals. Remember, they're to the east side of what we just watched there. So what I want to see about Pamstu's team is if the fact that they managed to make the most of this game, because Surge is difficult for this kind of zone for them. I want to see them deep into the position, into the zone. But because they have that good loot, you don't want to waste a game like that. Like, this is an easy pop-off match.
That was a legendary pump right there.
Yup.
So that's going to be definitely a game changer. Pamstu, Fatch, and Carry, a trio that has been on another one of the few trios that have been on a meteoric climb in recent times. Pamstu definitely finding his own bits of success with DreamHack and the All-Stars competition that we saw, right? Him taking that one away. And it was right after he took the All-Stars. Like, from there, his confidence went through the roof, and he's been top performing ever since. Really hasn't looked back. And this is what we talked about. This is what I was just talking about. Booga, Dukes, and Miro sitting up next to these teams that are going to be desperate. You can just tell that teams are going to look to target you, and that's exactly what happens here.
Yeah, the shots will come through. Picked up Booga. Miro super weak as well. But against Nex's team, Obviously, Jukes and Miro, some of the best fighters on the region. This team could clutch up. I definitely think it could be them and potentially even get the reboot
Jukes
off
got
of Misty
one.
Medis. Oh, he does?
Got the
Oh,
knock.
he has. He managed to get the knock. You're right. That was a huge shot connecting.
Oh.
And another one onto the back there to stop the race.
Oh.
One more aim.
Oh
Jukes
my
right
God.
now showing why he belongs on
No.
this team. And they've
No.
clutched it. There is no way that Jukes has essentially 1v3 Miros who picks up the last one. What an insane clutch. A lot of players said, why are you dropping Muzz from Miro and Booga's perspective? And look, Jukes is showing that he is clearly capable of fitting that role as someone who can frag and pop off on the trio.
I'm so happy you said it for me because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, if you were doubting Dukes on the trio, now you know why. There's a little highlight for you guys to kind of sprinkle in there. Keep that in the back of your mind. What a play. A play to keep Booga alive, to keep the dream alive for Duke, Miro, and Booga, who are in 3rd place, right? So that would have been devastating to fall. We talk about falling today on day 2. You do not want to fall. These are double points, ladies and gentlemen. So all of these eliminations are massive, massive for the standings.
There's see a quick stat coming on the left-hand side. Of the 11 trios that have previously played together, 6 are currently in the top 10, which is really impressive, showing that you're sticking together for a long, long time. Let's be real. The chemistry evolves, the game plan evolves. Working on improving your mistakes rather than just moving on to a new team is often the better play. And a lot of the time, switching the teammates up is a good decision if the chemistry's not there, right? If you're arguing, if it's not a good friendship at the same time, it's worth splitting. But overall, it's clearly working for the teams who have just made some mistakes and are putting things back together.
Here's what looks like a very complicated situation for Zlem, Chucky, and TK right now. Barely above the surge, well outside the zone right now, and there are a fair amount of trios that have to make the rotate on in. Luckily for Zlem here, Jamper and company that was just about to hold him out do have a vehicle, and they're going to rotate a little early, but clock's ticking. They're falling behind here, Reese. Look at this. Surge.
5 above.
Right on the line. They're the singular team, probably just above it.
This is often one of the worst places to rotate through as well, mid-game. So many teams set up on the mid-map hills here that are going to be powered. You can see Muzz is one of the ones in front of them. Ganzo's in, so it's actually made it off spawn as well. Dusky up to the far side. So many teams going to hold them, and this is going to be a rough rotate. They're going to have to use a ton of their hard materials to get in here. You see Zlem starting to use all the metal because he knows if players, even if he uses brick, another hard material, players will still start to spray and focus. Great idea for them to start to exchange the shots back. They're down below on Surge, and despite needing to focus on getting inside, they're instantly looking to try and get tags off onto Joji's team. This is one of the actually the furthest that Muzz, Joji, and Rokane have made it in. But hold on, Zlem's hugely beamed it. Same with Chucky, same with TK right now. Losing materials and losing HP still down below. They're going to have to start doing something.
The full team chug splash there. They are going to notice some builds coming from underneath. That's an enemy build. They're going in as a full trio. This is a very risky play. Misplay, though, by Chucky there. Pulls out a big pot on accident. And just like that, they get wiped up so early in game number 1. That monstrous lead they managed to build yesterday is on the line now.
You got a little bit thirsty, I think. You got thirsty for the eliminations, thirsty for the Storm Surge, and thirsty for that big pot middle of the fight. Our leaders are now down, opening up for everyone. Remember, the double points are in today, so that is going to be drastically different for our leaderboard so far. Same with skills, losing Justice and users. They are currently our 5th place team who has now lost 2 members. Skills now in this as a solo. The Surge is over. Seems like he's going to have to go for the 1v1 with Bully as Narwhal is picked up, but he's actually going to back out here. This interaction that they've had clearly has not benefited either of the teams, both super desperate for Surge.
And one thing to think about, Zlem, TK, and Chucky earned 0 points that game. Like, that was actually a dead zero. They didn't get to the placement threshold. Like, the placement threshold just gave out the 3 points here for breaking towards that top 27 now. And they fell. That's it. They're gone. They're out. Here's the pickup for Booga by Dukes and Miro, so they do manage to get him right back into the game. I'm actually surprised they even survived the surge there. That means Dukes did well, more than enough as far as the defensive fight that we saw there. That team trio wipe was enough to keep them in the clear here for the first surge.
I mean, yeah, let's be real. The 3-piece from him and Miro, so impactful. But skills going into the back of the zone. He doesn't know it's just been rebooted. The timer's out. He still has to wait for it. It's not going to be too long, luckily, at this moment. But he's going to have to drain some of those white heals. The chug splashes would have been so useful if he'd been able to save them a little bit later to get his teammates back in it. This is not devastatingly over for him, right? But the problem now is that next zone we know pulls relatively far to the north, which means that they're going to have a far rotate. They do have the car here, but I'm not hoping that... I'm not going to say I'm not hoping. moment. I know that the loot that they have is relatively poor at this moment too. They're going to be working with the combat pistols, minimal shield, minimal materials. Like, they're going to have to really make a play.
Actually, I didn't realize the reboot van came back so fast now.
Yeah, it was one of the changes this season.
Yeah, I thought they were in a terrible position. I was like, oh, skills is over. Like, you're not gonna be able to get the pickup. And then it was ready, and I was like, oh wait, the change. Wait, it's working.
Previous seasons would have been over for him, but season 8, they're liking those notes. Yeah.
That also makes sense why we saw for like the first time Storm Surge come back, right? Like
yeah, yesterday.
I was like, wait, it turned on again. Okay, it's all making sense here.
That was a rough game yesterday. I'm just thinking back to that now. That was one of the most stacked games, the game number 6, that Storm Surge kept turning back on. It was almost never-ending Storm Surge from when the moment the first threshold went on out, which was incredible. This game could be relatively similar, but let's be real, it's over now. No one's rebooting at this point to get it back above and active. We're down to 67, so I don't know if we'll ever see a game like that again.
Looks like we missed a key opportunity or a piece of action here because Miro is completely wiped out of the game now. It's just Dukes and Booga here left to play this out as a duo. Oh, it's going to be a shield crack right there that could turn the lobby to focus here. Luckily, it's not going to happen, but they don't really have much. That's it. That's all shields consumed.
They're going to have to... Really what they're looking for right now, they got the top 24 teams, so they managed to get themselves into that top placement. You can get like a top 17 out of this, which usually happens during the first moving zone. Like, you've accomplished something great, realistically here, especially with no shields. Every single point adds up, in particular on this double point. They going now down. If you go down, obviously, before top 17, you're going to miss out on a lot of those placement points. Booga gets tagged once on this rotate. One shot, he's going to go down. I would 100% not be using the wood. Be using the hard materials to get himself in. They're below the surge. 150, almost below. 16 players need to go down.
I was going to say, I do like how they were using Dukes to go ahead and lead there, though. I think that was probably the most important part about that rotate because he at least had shield. So shield crack usually isn't, enough for everyone to fully commit, but a fresh white tag on the opener, that's enough to get fully pressured out. So just so happens to work out for them right here and now. And look at this, maybe a little moment here to find some loot, find some leftovers. What can they make of this desperate and terrible situation they found themselves in?
I hope something. I really do. We see Yudin going down to himself in the feed at the same time. Yom's also picking up gold, so we've got some action going on from some of the teams lower down in the leaderboard. As Boga's just going to sit. He's going to rest, think. That threshold has 9 more seconds before he has to start doing something. Now he's starting to get active. The zone's starting to finally pick up. He's starting to go up. He's just thinking, right, we need to get in. If they don't go for this, their game is completely over. They're going to start jumping in. It's Snake who's on the other side. Taken after Chucky, clearly seeing my tweet. But hold on, is that going to be an easy elimination? It is. If they make it the maximum damage headshot onto that, I may be able to put them above the threshold.
Look at the
not seem 62 below, though. 62 below. No, they're now 51 above. Okay, they may have just clutched this up.
I was going to say, I think there's also enough loot for them to be okay as well. And they find excess. That's actually massive. Remember, guys, these are also double points here. So, like, big points here to keep them alive here, extend them, get them one step closer to breaking towards top 17. And they're maybe, I don't want to speak too soon, but they might just be in the clear here from the Storm Surge.
Seems like it, 33 above. With the heals they have, if push comes to shove, they can out-heal it at this moment. Obviously, you don't want to do that. This rotate, I was going to say it looks relatively free in terms of the players there, but look at how many people are already set up in the zone. Everyone's already got their eyes open. Boga's now cracked down to no shield. Jukes has been tagged a bit too. It's going to be a rough rotate. Potentially, Jukes should take over yet again. Create a path so that Boga can make his way through with that minimal shield that he has. I think they might be okay here, but only down to wood and a little bit of brick is definitely concerning.
Macwood on height right now. Putting that extra pressure here with Bucky and Peterbot. Disappointing performance for them yesterday, but it's any team's game here today. Talked about a 10 elimination victory out will be the difference to swing a team all the way right back up and make up for lost time essentially here.
That's basically the difference between 11th till 1st if they didn't get any points. So huge if you manage to pick up that kind of win.
Keep in mind, Bucky, Peterbot, and Macwood are in 19th place, so in case they do get that victory out, I mean,
maybe need a bit more than 10 elims, yeah. Enough, but Do what they can do is, ooh, hold on, Jukes.
Oh, no.
Trying to get Junk Check attack, but he's hitting back and his Pams to the team who they're contesting off spawn. This all comes back together now. We know, remember, they have the gold pump in the inventory. We know that they're locked and loaded with the firepower. Picked up Jukes, now Booga by himself, but they did manage to get top 16. Remember, we said if they get top 16 out of this,
shaking down.
this is going to be huge. Or top 17 at this moment. So top 17, they have managed to get a tons of the points from this. Shaking down, yeah, and the shot's starting to come out onto Booga. 0 builds to his name. Realistically, they've done enough. Any points after this, it's just icing on top of the cake.
They held Dukes for all that time, by the way. Just to hold him. Just to hold him. And it's the little things. Yeah, it's the little things like that. They're like, yeah, we got you. How do you feel about it? You know what I mean? Just think about that.
Luckily, someone's managed to go down above them on the Storm Surge leaderboard. So now the book is up 7 above. So potentially keeping himself alive a little bit more in here.
Top 17.
Up 17. He made that second ago. Now we got to see any placement after this. He gets more and more points. He's just sitting at the backside of the zone with no builds. Can he manage to make it a little bit further? But no, he's found himself stuck a bunch of the metal. Dom going down on the feet to Rocane too. He's just trying to get Usain Bolt impression on here, but no, he's going to go down the back. Top 17, they claimed a ton of points for them, however.
Definitely a little bit extra. That's the difference maker there to go the additional mile here. On the side, though, Cease, Cold, and Elite are still up as well. And look at this. They have 5 eliminations, 856 above the surge threshold. They are cruising right now. And honestly, they have the builds to maintain an end game here. And look at this. The front being led, the charge being led by Cease with the heavy materials. He's got everything that he needs right here. This is exciting for Cease and Trio.
Trying to keep ahead of the zone, creating a good target for them. Cold, looking for eliminations down below, but the floor gets opened up. There's a bunch of players trying to chop them out, make sure they can't create such a strong layer, but no, they've got it all locked and loaded. Muzz is popping off in the feed. Visuals also at the same time. Another one of our top 10 teams doing well, but Cold getting tagged onto the player down below. He's weak. He's on that white HP. This should be free eliminations. Do they have the harpoon? Can they get the loot? But no, someone else does this. DJ, and he gets the finish on, but that's actually not the elimination.
Yeah, it's just a down body there. He's going to be able to pick up a couple tags on. So Iamzo is still alive, however, trying to clutch up on his own. Now, this is a player that can absolutely do some big things as a solo. He is definitely known to have that good pre-fire and reaction speed. Let's see how it's going to work out here.
What he can do, he's lining up the angles, lining up the shots. Got himself a nice path. Good refarm, get himself in tiers. The players in the back of the box. He's going to go out the front. Solo tarp, he knows he's going to have his teammates with him. He's going to play this like a all-star tournament. The reharvest absolutely incredibly important at this moment to get the minimal materials he has left. The wood, the harpoon comes out from the floor, see if he can knock a player down, hit the pump shot, but unfortunately no one's there. Players all around him, seeing what he can do. He's trying to create that extra space, every single placement being so important. Stretch down in the feed today. We'll have to see what he can do as a solo.
Oh, he's looking around. He gets a little bit of zone favor. This might work out for him. But a player's going to jump in the box, and for a second there, it was almost all over, but he was not spotted out. Yamto still has a moment to breathe here. Now, mind you, every team that falls here gets more points. Can he get some more? Absolutely. Agers gets shut down here. Another player in the box. We talked about his clip potential. He has not stopped. Down goes Saf as well, and that's a back-to-back elimination there for Yamzo, putting him up inside the top 6 here now.
Nothing but maximums for Iomzo down as the solo in the back of the zone. Up on the high ground, Macwood's team still in it. Cold still in this long time as a full trio. This could be an easy 3v3 finish as long as Iomzo doesn't disrupt what's going on here down on the low ground. He's starting to move through the mid-ground layers, trying to play builds out. The player starts to drop down. He gets the right-hand peek, but he whiffs the shot. Minimums only here. He's going to go for the wall replace, but he has no mass.
Oh my
the player's
God.
coming below, and he's picked up.
There it is. He's going to fall there on high ground once again, though. Peterbot, Bucky, and Macwood still maintaining. And look at this. Cold, Cease, Elite have managed to survive. They're just still alive here. They have the stamina. They're up in the running here. And oh my gosh, 10 eliminations already. I cannot believe what I'm seeing here. A top 3 now for Cease. Just a phenomenal way for them to stretch out the game and make the most of it. As now we start to settle down here. Macwood, Bucky, and Peterbot, there's no way they wanted to throw this game. They took their time here just to stretch to the very end, and it's Muzz on low ground going for the heal off.
Muzz on the low ground. He's got the med kit play popped. He's got the one chug splash. The city didn't time it right. There's no way Muzz didn't time the med kit play right, meaning that Macwood, Bucky, and Peterbot are going to pick up the victory in game number 7 here. How can we see the fumble of the med kit at that point? Either way, this is a huge game for them. Being 29th before this, picking up a second in this game, the off-spawn change of strategy clearly worked out for them.
And keep in mind as well, these double points mean that it doesn't really matter how bad your day one was. These points are going to propel you up so quick. And take a look from our winning perspective of Bucky, Macwood, and Peterbot here. They find the tags onto Josie. We saw what happened with Mustard fumbling the med kit. And just like that, they get themselves a Victor Royale. They set them up, set themselves up, what was that, like around the 145 or so points. That is not bad at all. It's definitely going to jump them up, potentially even top 5 here.
Let's be real though. Most of our leaderboard's going to shake up big time from day number one. We saw Cold Elite and Steets with the ones popping off, 10 eliminations, but basically every other team was out relatively early in the end game, or just kind of out in the mid game at the same time. So I'm very much excited to throw it back to the desk and see what the leaderboards are looking like.
Don't you even worry about it, Reese. We got you guys covered. We'll take a look as soon as we can. But my goodness, this game was ridiculous, right? This was